Welcome to NBA Today. I'm Malika Andrews, joined by Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins, JJ Redick, Zach Lowe, Bobby Marks, and Woj are all going to be stopping by throughout the show. But first, Richard, let's get to Giannis versus LaMelo from last night.
Game of the night.
It was the game of the night, other than the national championship game.
No, what? That's
all right.
Football.
Well, Giannis versus LaMelo, visiting the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo starts cooking.
And look, at the end of the day, this combination of Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball is starting to look more and more deadly. He's doing it on every level. He's getting everyone involved, scoring points at a high level.
Well, and Melo tied a career-high 16 points in the third quarter, but then Giannis doing what he does all the way to the rack.
Just being a grown man. At the end of the day, we already know that there's a superstar on that court, and his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Absolutely. Going up. Fouled, heads to the free throw line. So he had a whole lot of practice of the boos and the chants, taking a deep breath during the playoffs, but can't quite get it to fall. Wesley Matthews
has been huge for them. I'm telling you, I love their two-guard lineup that they have brewing. But LaMelo, that's what he does, a little floater, high off. Oh, going against Wesley. Sorry, old fella. Dropping it down. What? Why are you look at my face? Because I call him an old fella. He is.
Well, and it forced the Bucks to have to take a little bit of a timeout. So last possession of the game, Giannis drives, kicks it out to Pat Connaughton, falls out of bounds, can't quite get it.
That's the old Bucks. Old Bucks. Let's not do that anymore.
Pat rubbing his head. The Hornets, they pull out a win. And so the natural question coming out of this now as we welcome in 2008 NBA champ Kendrick Perkins. Perk, how soon until you are ready to call LaMelo Ball a superstar?
Well, welcome to the party. I mean, I said this before he was drafted. I thought the Knicks should have drafted him. I thought he had superstardom written all over him. Here's the thing. He's already a superstar in his own right. And I understand that people want to say, well, he got to accomplish more. He got to get to the All-Star game. He has to win the MVP. All that, yeah, I get all that. But when you look at what LaMelo Ball does and how he affects the game of basketball, that's one thing. But look at those stands. Look at those people in those seats. That's another thing. Ooh. And it wasn't because Giannis came into town. It's like that every single night in Charlotte. And so when I'm listening to these kids, because I'm in the AAU world now, and they talking about LaMelo Ball, those are the same kids that on school nights when LaMelo Ball comes into town on road games, they said, hey, Daddy, Mom, I promise you I'm going to get up and not be tired. Please take me to the game tonight. That is superstar. When you selling out arenas and you putting butts in the seats and kids are mimicking you, that is a true definition of being a superstar. He's already reaching it right now in front of our very own eyes.
Now, again, Malika, you don't have to tee me up on this one again.
Oh, yeah, I was like, you were already ready to go.
I was, sometimes you're listening and sometimes you're waiting for someone to finish. In this case, I was waiting for someone to finish. Thank you for finishing, Perk. At the end of the day, he is an absolute star. Superstar, there are very few. Understand, the game of basketball, the NBA, when you have a superstar, you are transcendent on sports. You are Magic Johnson. You are Larry Bird. You are Michael Jordan. To say superstar, there's probably only about 4 or 5 superstars in this game. Now, is he headed that direction? Rookie of the year. Like, we've followed his story pretty much like LeBron James since he was 14, 15 years old. Yes, he is a star. He is going to be an all-star this year. If they keep going, he's on his way towards All-NBA. But superstardom is a little bit different. There's very few people that ever reach superstardom in this game.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Richard Jefferson.
Please.
Name me your young superstars in the NBA right now.
You said young superstars.
Matter of fact, name me your superstars that are in the NBA right now and give me the criteria of being a superstar.
Well, I want to jump in here
for
1 second.
Get him, Malika.
I do think that superstardom is a little bit subjective here, and there's a concoction, there's a potion, right? There is the on-court ability to affect a game. Then you can factor in what you're saying, butts and seats, marketability, etc. And we have had this conversation so many times in our newsroom, in breaks, all this. I can't believe I'm saying this, Perk. I kind of agree with Richard. There are only about 5 superstars in the league that are just plain superstars. They are transcendent. They have earned it. There is nothing they can do to let it go. I think there are other players who have been superstars in the past, I think there are players who could be superstars in the future, but the LeBrons, the Giannis's, that's what I'm looking at. The Steph Curry's,
yes,
bona fide superstar, no question
until people that don't know basketball at all know his name, that's when you become a superstar.
Okay, well, we do have, right?
So y'all,
we're gaining up on him today. We should be nicer.
No, because listen, here's the thing that I got over
Kevin Durant,
both of you
superstar.
guys, okay? I am in AAU gyms every single weekend with over 300 to 500 kids. And guess what? A name that comes up every single time somebody walks up to me is LaMelo Ball. So that's what I'm trying to explain to y'all. Like, I understand where y'all coming from, but when I think of a household name, every kid in America loves LaMelo Ball, and right now he's at the point where you could call him a superstar.
Well, every kid knows and is talking about LaMelo Ball. Every person knows Kevin Durant. So let's get you caught up on the Nets and the Blazers game from last night. So the Nets had Kyrie, which we could debate the superstardom there too, back for a second game after he debuted last Wednesday in Indiana, and he repeated his production. He scored 22 points against the Blazers while playing nearly 40 minutes. And then KD, he had 28 points in 42 minutes. So he has now had 11 straight games scoring at least 25. That's the second longest such streak in Nets history, behind his own 12-game streak from last season. But not all things are good for the Nets. They lost to the Blazers. That's without Damian Lillard, without CJ McCollum, and Brooklyn has now lost 5 of their last 7 games. So here's KD on his minutes load after that game.
Are you concerned at all about the workload that you put in so far today?
No. Let me die out there. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm not concerned, but whenever the coach want to give me a day, then, I'll support it, but I'm not looking for one. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to just play until they tell me that I'm sitting out. But that's not on my mind when I'm playing. That's not on my mind when I'm going into a game, preparing for a game. It is what it is. I got to play 40. I got to play, so what? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play, but if they tell me to sit out, I'm going to do the same thing.
Okay, dang, I'm going to die out there. Well, with that, I'd like to welcome in JJ Redick. So, JJ, do you think the Nets are putting a little too much on Kevin Durant right now?
Well, I think they should definitely be concerned with his minutes. But as you guys just talked about, Kevin Durant is a superstar. He's a max player. There's inherently going to be pressure on him. That has been exacerbated this season for a few reasons. First of all, COVID, injuries, but really the Nets have an unbalanced roster. They have 3 superstars, or whatever the criteria is, guys, I'm not sure. But they have 3 star players, and then after that, there's this pretty significant drop-off. And, because of Kyrie being only being available for 2 games all season, he's had to shoulder more minutes. But look, his usage rate is slightly above his career average. It's not like when he's on the court, he's doing more than he normally does. The Nets are in the middle of 5 games in 7 days right now. There's not a break in sight. They don't have a 2-game break or 2-day break in between games until January 27th and 28th. And then they go back out west for another long road trip. So there's really no end in sight for this team until you get to the All-Star break.
Well, and James Harden didn't play, so it already seems that they're staggering their stars. But with KD and Harden, like we just saw in that graphic, they rank in the top 3 in minutes per game, along with Fred VanVleet, who's number 1. Is this sustainable for the entire season?
This is the benefit of bringing Kyrie back for road games. If I'm the Nets, my strategy would be if those 3 guys are healthy for a road game, we're picking one of them to sit out the game and get some rest. And certainly as you get past the All-Star break, you can be even more strategic and look for opportunities to play those guys together. But there is a concern for sure that Harden and Durant are playing too many minutes and having to shoulder so much of the playmaking burden, which is the benefit of bringing back Kyrie. And even if that's only for half the games, it's a huge lift for this team.
Well, but there's kind of a push and pull there, right? Because you have to have enough games together to build chemistry, which was something they struggled to get last season. But then at the same time, they want to make sure they're rested for when it counts. Kyrie, he did play last night. Kevin Durant did play. James Harden did not. Kyrie Irving, he was unhappy with the play made by Blazers forward Nasir Little when he dove for a ball. It was near his ankle. So take a listen to that.
I tried to get out of the way, but I just felt like that was just
it was unnecessary, like for him to dive that far away to the ball. I was just trying to get out the way, but just unnecessary play. I asked the refs, you just got to protect our players out there. It's just totally unnecessary. I get Nasir wants to go for the ball, but man, that's just not a good play for basketball. I could have broke my ankle or done something worse. There's just no place in our game for it.
There's no place in our game for it. All right, so I'd like to bring back Richard and Perk, and considering Richard is already rubbing the dome, I have to ask, was that a dirty play in your eyes, Richard?
This is going to crush me. This is going to crush me in a way that has never.
Then we welcome it.
I've never been crushed on national television before. JJ, what is that terrible school you went to? What is your motto? What is your motto, JJ? First to the floor. You guys dive after every ball. That's some Duke basketball BS. And look, I know Kyrie. I understand when you get injured in that moment, but that is first to the floor. And look, I love Kyrie. That's my guy. But Kai, I've seen you dive after balls in practice. Look, he's trying to get the ball. This is a guy that's trying to win a game. That's what this is, right? Look, the Nets have not been playing great basketball of late, even though they've been winning because they have the talent. But unless you're willing to hustle like that, and yes, that sucks that Kyrie's, yes, injuries can happen in basketball. Kyrie went up for a layup in the postseason, landed on somebody's ankle. That wasn't intentional. This right here is just a guy trying to win a game. And truth be told, the Nets need more guys like that on their roster if they want to be playing better basketball.
Speak for your school. Speak for your school, JJ. Go ahead.
Well, so I thought you were talking about our floor slapping, RJ.
Yeah,
so that's why I was a little confused.
It's the fake hustle. It's the same thing.
Nasir Little went to UNC, by the way. Let's just acknowledge that. Duke's biggest rival.
I'm talking about him. I'm talking about a Duke guy talking about diving on the floor. There's no place for that in the game of basketball.
Look, I watched this game last night. I watched it live. I watched this highlight 10 more times this morning. This was not a dirty play.
Thank you.
Nasir Little is a hungry young player trying to make a winning basketball play. And if you look at it from every single angle, he is diving for the ball on the side of Kyrie. He's not diving at his legs. I've seen guys make dirty plays before like this. This is not one of those.
Yeah, and Kyrie jumped in front of him to try and stop him from doing that.
Right.
That's all I got to say. Go ahead, Perk. Guess we get to listen to you.
Well, I mean, look, RJ, this is not just in the Duke locker room. This is around all NBA locker rooms. What they say, 50? No, Jay, I'm not. Fix your face. Don't start turning red. I'm actually on y'all side. Listen, here's the thing. In every NBA locker room, every coach talk about 50-50 balls. And every coach actually give you a reminder. The first guy to hit the floor is the guy that probably won't get his ankle turned or get a leg injury. That's why you preach dive on the floor for the loose ball. And JJ, you made a great point. Here's the thing. This is a guy in Little, a young fella who's trying to establish himself in the league, trying to make get a reputation for himself as a guy that plays hard, everybody's watching him play, and then you have Kyrie and you have the Nets who were playing cool. This is why they lost the game in the first place, because the Trailblazers just played harder than them. And so I actually talked to my guy Chauncey Billups today, and I asked him about that play, and he was like, man, hell nah, man. Ain't nobody was trying to hurt Kyrie. Perk, you know that's what we preach. Dive on the floor for loose balls. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, watching it, it's hard to say.
We have no place in our game for soft play.
Well, with that, no place in the game for soft play. We certainly have the opposite of that coming up next on NBA Today, because Joel Embiid, we know he goes hard, and the Sixers have won 7 straight. But what's the biggest key to this hot streak? Plus, Klay Thompson's second game back. Steph Curry versus Ja Morant will get you ready for Wizards and the Grizzlies tonight. And, the Warriors and the Grizzlies tonight. Chauncey Billups called Kyrie the most skilled player ever. Our panel will weigh in on that. Center on Big Perk's big list of big men. He continued his torrid stretch last night with 31 points in a win against the Rockets. It's his 7th straight 30-point game and Philly's 7th straight win. And Embiid is the 4th 7-footer with 7 straight 30-point games, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, and Wilt Chamberlain. And Embiid joined Allen Iverson and Wilt Chamberlain as the only Sixers ever to have 7 straight 30-point games. He's now just 1 game shy of tying their franchise record, and Philly's next game is against the Hornets on Wednesday. So back with Richard and Perk, and joining us for the first time is senior writer Zach Lowe. So Zach, I want to start with you here. What's the biggest reason behind the Sixers win streak?
I wish I could give you like a fun, out-of-the-box answer, but number one, their schedule's been easy, and number two, this dude, who was bobbling in my background until a minute ago, has been the best player in the NBA for the past couple of weeks. His jumper has rounded into form, and when his jumper is in form, there is nothing, zero you can do except pray that he has a bad turnover game. Two other guys I want to give a shout-out to. Number one, Seth Curry has been lights out all season, including during this streak. Number two, Andre Drummond, 13 and 10 last night in 17 minutes. A big reason the Sixers are +8 per 100 possessions with Embiid on the bench during this stretch. They used to get killed with Embiid on the bench. Andre Drummond's had a great year, but it's mostly the guy bobbling in my hand right now. This guy's ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, Zach, you're speaking a lot of facts, but here's the thing: it was a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, Philly will be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference without Ben Simmons." And Joel Embiid said, "Hold on for a second. I got to remind you guys, and you remind everybody on who the hell I am." And I know y'all gonna say he'll go perk with the MVP conversation, but like I said before, it's gonna be one of those seasons that is gonna fluctuate. And at the beginning of the season, I actually picked Embiid as my MVP candidate. Now I'm not saying I'm changing. I'm not saying that I'm picking him right now, but he's playing at the MVP level. And the thing that impresses me the most about this stretch with Embiid is his playmaking ability, because the great Kevin Garnett told me that you're taking another step forward when you're able to go out there and get your 30 and make others around you better. Just think about this. In this 7-game win streak, I think about 4 or 5 of those games, they hadn't even had Tyrese Maxey. He's been out. And so Joel Embiid, he has, like, every time it's a challenge or obstacle in place, hey, man, he's rising to the occasion.
No, I think all of us on this panel agree that everything in Philly starts and finishes with Joel Embiid. You know he's great. You know he's good. But then there's these moments, these 10, 15-game stretches, this month and a half, where he becomes the best player in basketball. And over this win streak, there is no one playing better basketball than him on both ends of the floor. You've seen the numbers, 7 straight 30-point games. Has their schedule been, let's say, weak? Yes, but we've also seen teams with great players like the Lakers, like the Nets, struggle against lesser teams. So, let's not just discount going out there and handling your business against the teams you're supposed to, and he's been doing that.
Well, Perk said the magic words, though, without Ben Simmons. So for more on the Sixers, we are joined by senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski and front office insider Bobby Marks. It's no secret here, Philly is having one of its most successful seasons, some success without Ben Simmons, who is yet to play in a game this season. So, Adrian, we're just under a month away from the February 10th trade deadline. Is there any movement for a possible Simmons trade here?
Malika, there is no movement. And listen, we may be in this situation all the way until the NBA draft. Because, listen, right now you look at Philadelphia and the kind of players available to them in a Ben Simmons trade, Harrison Barnes in Sacramento, Domantas Sabonis, Indiana. And listen, John Collins in Atlanta, that's not going to move the needle at this point for Ben Simmons. And listen, they would, especially positionally with those players, power forwards. For Philly, it doesn't make any sense, hypothetically, if they took any of those guys on in big deals and to still have Tobias Harris on your roster at the same position, making closer to $40 million a year over the following 2 seasons. And so unless they could expand the deal, make it bigger, listen, Atlanta's not taking back Tobias Harris in a deal with Ben Simmons. Could they route Tobias Harris somewhere else? Listen, it is a lot of money on his contract. Listen, right now, I think Philadelphia continues to be content to wait. And, their philosophy all along has been, if we get a trade package back that doesn't make us a championship contender, doesn't get us back to that level that we felt we were with Ben Simmons, we're not doing it. And so I think even with a month left to the deadline, there's a real chance this goes on beyond the deadline.
Well, they'll wait, and we will wait with them. Woj, thank you so much, but please stick around and come back a little bit later in the show. If we're talking money moves, we need to talk a little bit to Bobby Marks. So right now on ESPN.com, Bobby, you have an incredibly comprehensive piece that outlines what to watch for at the trade deadline. And in it, you propose one trade for each team that you would want to see. So what is that trade for Philadelphia?
Malika, it's simple. Go get Jaylen Brown of the Celtics. Now, I don't think Brown is available. I don't think the Celtics would do a deal, but if I'm Daryl Morey, the president of the Sixers, I'm calling up to Brad Stevens and I'm offering Ben Simmons, I'm offering Matisse Thybulle, and I'm getting Jaylen Brown and Juancho Hernan-Gomez just to make the money work. And I think when you look at this Sixers team, great streak going on. Joel Embiid's playing like an MVP, but can we make the argument that they're actually going to get out of the first round if there is no Simmons deal past February 10th? I don't think so here. So I think to buy, you have to sell. And if it's Ben Simmons and adding something else to get a player like Jaylen Brown, that's the direction I'm going.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it. Everyone should go to ESPN.com and read what to watch and the potential deals for all 30 teams. If the 76ers aren't your team, Bobby has info today. So it was a great night in the association last night. So let's take a look at the top of the top.
The top of the top.
Starting with, thank you for that, top
I got you.
posters last night. Charlotte, PJ Washington went up. Check this.
Watch this. Let's go. Ooh, okay. All the way around. Oh, Simon's doing what he does. Look, he's going to work. Everybody want to talk about there's no place for that hustle in the game of basketball. End of the day, the Portland Trailblazers were putting in work. No CJ, no Dame. They come out with a win against KD and Kyrie. I know it was a tough back-to-back, really crappy back-to-back, but Kyrie was 100% rested, just to say that.
Well, but Anthony Simons was looking good. So now we will get to top posters. Last night in Charlotte, PJ Washington went up and elevated over $2. Look, even Giannis looked a little bit impressed on that. Look at his face. Look, Giannis is like, yeah, okay.
Young fellas are hanging on the rim. PJ Washington catching himself a body.
And he knows what he did. Look, he smiled as he was hanging on the rim.
Yeah.
And then in Boston.
Oh, God, Jason Tatum. We love you up here, bug fella, but if you're going to go for those blocks, you got to be careful. And this game, let me tell you, was an awful game. It was a bad game.
But that was also a bad
That was
play.
a bad dunk. Yes, it was.
A bad dunk. But you know who else was a bad man last night? Cade Cunningham was our top rookie. He was showing out in the D, career high 29 points.
No, he's starting to figure it out. He just has a beautiful game about him. I still have him as the second best rookie all year, and that's behind my guy Evan Mobley. Yes, to me, he's the rookie of the year. But Cade is catching ground. He missed some time because of his ankle at the start of the season, but he's starting to look like that number one pick that everybody's been excited about.
Do you think he has a little time to make up some ground here on the rookie of the year conversation?
I don't think so. Well, look, anything can happen if his numbers are great, but at the end of the day, if the Cavs continue to win and Evan Mobley continues to have that type of impact, I'm always going to vote for the rookie of the year that way.
Well, we couldn't do the top of the top without the top dunk off. So in New York, of course, the Knicks were showing out. First, RJ Barrett.
Okay, with the lefty windmill. Normally that's other teams doing that there, but the new Knicks have been putting on a show. Obi Toppin from up top.
The son of Dunker's Delight. He knows what he is doing. Which dunk was better, Richard?
Well, look, I'm going to say the windmill. Very few of us have windmilled in the Garden.
Us.
And so I just, I like the windmill. Give the Garden a little sexy because they've been grumpy in the Garden lately.
Well,
they've been real grumpy. I don't know what's been going on.
Let's get to that. Sticking with the Knicks here, Julius Randle. He scored 2 points in the win over the Spurs last night, and Randle was booed off the court while fans later chanted for his replacement, Obi Toppin. And remember, Randle gave the Knicks a thumbs down last week, and their response was boos, and then he later apologized. So here is Coach Tom Thibodeau on the Randle situation after the game. Take a listen.
They don't take those apologies.
There's going to be praise, there's going to be criticism, and don't get wrapped up in either. Just the important thing is to lock into the team, your job, the next day, winning, your opponent, get ready to go so you can play well. And look, when we play well, we know how much our fans love this team, and we love them.
Love them. So I'd like to welcome in Zach Lowe, Kendrick Perkins to join the discussion. So Zach, are Knicks fans being too hard on Julius Randle here?
Well, before the thumbs down, I think the level of booing and vitriol probably outweighed how badly he was playing, but not by that much. Look, the bottom line is this. Julius Randle has not been able to duplicate his season from last year, and I think the Knicks offense the entire year has been stuck in this kind of tug of war between how they played last year, which was Julius Randle all the time, and how they wanted to play this year, which was the point of getting Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, on and on and on. And part of that is on Randle, taking too many bad shots, too many of those crazy ISO fadeaways that all went in last year that aren't going in this year. Part of that is the teammates not stepping up. Part of that is coaching. Part of that is just chemistry. it takes time. But that's before the thumbs down. When you do the thumbs down and then you add in and shut the F up, profanity, defense of the thumbs down, you are kind of quadrupling down on a hostile relationship with the fans. The only way to turn it back now is to start making shots. Because when you tell New York fans to shut the F up,
but they hear it on the subway every day. They literally hear it on the subway every day. Well, yeah, that's also true.
Not from people they're paying to see.
That is also true. But Julius Randle, he did speak today for the first time since making that thumbs down last Thursday night. So take a listen.
The relationship with the fans right now, is it something that you hope to mend, or where do you want this to go right now?
I've already addressed it.
Is that something that the management talked to you at all about?
I've already addressed it.
Okay, so some sort of Marshawn Lynch-esque answers there. Richard, how do you interpret Randall's response there?
So we got Woj in the building here today, and I was drafted in New York. I played for the Nats, but you learn very quickly about the New York media and the New York fan base. They will blow everything up, and they will also just kind of linger along. That's one thing that I learned. This is not going well for them. And when you feed into them, even as a Knicks player, this is what people used to complain about pretty much last year. Before the Knicks had that resurgence and got back, this is what people would complain about. The Knicks will turn on their players. They don't support their they support their team, but they will turn on the owner, they will turn on the coach, they will turn on the players. And then when you give them a reason and you become a villain, then it's not pretty. So the only way for him to get back in the good graces is to start playing the level of basketball that he played last year.
Woj is reporting on you, by the way, absolutely fair at all times.
Fair.
Well, once again, players being too damn sensitive. Look, this is what you signed up for. I don't know how many times I got to say that, right? If you're not performing well, you got to expect this. New York still is the mecca of basketball. Like, we already know this. New York City, what it's all about, all the history, Madison Square Garden. Look, you gave the New York Knicks a sample size last year. You were a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference, number 4. You was the most improved player, all-star. They expect you to come back and be better. The expectations for the Knicks was extremely high coming into this season. And if you're not living up to them, like I said before, what they supposed to tell you? Great job, keep up the good work? No, that's not how it goes. And so that's all I got to say, because for some strange reason, today on the show, I don't have a lot of time. Steve keep being in my ear saying, keep it short, Perk. I can't go back at Malika and RJ. When they go at me, I got to cut it short, and I can't defend myself. So y'all go ahead and finish doing what y'all doing.
You just spent 20 seconds talking about that you didn't have room to talk.
I don't know what's going on today with the whole show with Greg and Hillary and Steve and
clearly
Nate,
it's clearly
Malika. I don't know what's going on with I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
But I will say
Breaking the
this.
fourth wall?
It doesn't seem, it's always personal and never personal in the Garden. They will love you when you are good, and they will let you know when you can do better.
Yep.
We have so much more coming up on NBA Today, and we'll do better for you, Perk. Jason Tatum, he hit the shot to force OT in a Celtics win last night. So Big Perk will have all the time to recap his Twitter exchange with the All-Star next on NBA. Because Jason Tatum, he hit a shot to force overtime against the Pacers. Boston went on to win the game, and then Jaylen Brown, he led the way with 26 points. So this gets us to a recap of a story from this past weekend. So after Saturday's game, Big Perk, he tweeted, Jaylen Brown completely took over this game with his triple-double of his career, his first triple-double of his career. He played a perfect game. Jason Tatum went 6 of 14 from the field. They got the win. Carry on. So then Tatum replied, normalizing, uplifting one man without bringing down another one. JB played great. It's all right. Leave it at that. And then Perk, he had to reply again. It's not bringing anybody down, homeboy. My point is that I'm ready to see both of you have great games at the same time. Just like the rest of the world, we want to see if y'all can exist, can coexist. I'm standing on that. Carry on, youngsters. So after all of that, Perk, what happened between you and Tatum?
Well, let me say this. It's not any beef, okay? Me and JT, all right. And actually, Mama Tatum had something to say, and I respect it because she wasn't doing nothing but taking up for her baby, and it's all good. But here's the thing. that tweet has something to do with what I said 2 or 3 days before that, when I said that they need to break up the two. And it's because when one is on, the other one is off. And so when people come on here and say, Perk, why are you tearing down Jason Tatum? No, actually, I'm a fan of Jason Tatum, and I'm a fan of Jaylen Brown because I'm a former Celtic player, but I can't be biased. They're sitting at 20 and 21. They haven't lived up to expectations. Every other superstar, young superstar, or star in the league has elevated their game for us, making others around them better. So at what point are they going to do the same? So maybe my expectations are too high for them. Maybe I need to pipe it down a little bit. But no, I'm not beefing with Jason Tatum. I just expect more out of him, Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics. And I want to see them come together and actually be like a Zach LaVine and a DeMar DeRozan. Is that a problem? So maybe I'm thinking of them as being smothered collard greens with turkey necks, and right now they're looking like unsalted asparagus. Is I'm wrong for that? Is I wrong for the expectations?
Always salt your asparagus. You can take the perk out of the Twitter, but you cannot take the Twitter out of the perk. My goodness. Hey, Perk, carry on and stick around. We'll see you back in just a moment. I do want to stick with the Celtics here and bring in our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. So, Woj, amidst the flurry of talk that we just had about separating Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, what is the reality in Boston as we approach the trade deadline?
Well, Perk brought up a good point about Chicago and the way that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan have been able to play together. But a big part of that is the supporting cast they have in Chicago. I think Boston, they're not identifying Tatum and Brown, their coexistence is a problem. They know that they've got to get better players around them. They've had a talent drain in Boston over recent years, from Kyrie Irving to Gordon Hayward. You know, the Kemba Walker free agent signing, they had to move him with a first-round pick to get salary off for a player that they thought, they were going to be able to build around at that position. And right now for Boston, you look at their trade assets, a Marcus Smart. Well, this is a team that wants toughness, and they certainly need perimeter help. Trading Marcus Smart, that's a subtraction that I don't think they want to do. Robert Williams, that's a player that they want to keep. And so you start looking at what's available for Boston. Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder on a one-year deal. They may not have enough to go out and get an impactful player in the marketplace, but the idea of trading or breaking up Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, that's not on the agenda in Boston.
Okay, so let's shift then from the East to the West, because the latest installment of the Woj Pod is out today, and you chatted with Jeff Green. He has played with 238 different teammates. That's the second most among active players, trailing only Trevor Ariza. That includes Chris Paul, James Harden, and currently Nikola Jokic. So what did Jeff Green say about playing with Nikola?
Well, when you look at Jeff Green's career and the players he has played with in Boston on those great Celtic teams, Oklahoma City early, this is a guy who's been with Hall of Famers all up and down lineups through his 15 years. He puts Nikola Jokic, he said, really third among the guys I played with. And that includes LeBron James and Kevin Durant, and almost everybody else is third on that list. But just the uniqueness of Jokic. And remember, this is a Denver team that has not ruled out the possibility that they could get Jamal Murray back this year, that they can get Michael Porter Jr. back. And, that was a big part of why Jeff Green went to Denver, chance to win a championship. And next year, they're going to have a nucleus there around Jokic again. If those guys can get healthy and do it, whether this year in the playoffs or next year, where Denver's going to be back in that championship conversation.
I had a chance to cover Jeff Green in Brooklyn. He is an energetic vet that you want on your team. Absolutely, everyone go and check out the latest Woj Pod anywhere you get your podcast. We have so much more NBA Today coming up. Steph Curry and Ja Morant, they're going head-to-head tonight. But before we get there, let's recap the season debut of Klay Thompson from Sunday.
2.5 years, 175 games, 941 days. Here he is. I think he's healthy. Good look at a three. There it is. First dunk, first three.
Been a while on the sidelines watching. Now it's time to play. I ain't got no other options.
I'm just so grateful to be out here and the love I received. It's the night I will never forget.